Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a hump day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, Batters of the Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, ProChar GV, ProCharGV.com. All right. Good day to all you wonderful people. Hope your morning's off to a great start. We'll say some good mornings here in a second. LSU continuing its prep for Mississippi State. Brian Kelly will be on the SEC coaches teleconference here Wednesday morning, as will Zach Arnett and all the rest of the SEC coaches. Really curious to see how Mississippi State's offense approaches the LSU defense. If you haven't been really locked in, of course, you know that with Mike Leach's passing, Mississippi State obviously hired Zach Arnett from within to be the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator, promoted him to head coach. He brought in Kevin Barbay from Appalachian State to run the offense. And Kevin Barbay, it just runs a more traditional looking offense, obviously, than what Mike Leach did. So the odd thing is you have Will Rogers here in, a guy that's thrown for 11,000 career yards and, is on pace to break all of the SEC career passing records that Aaron Murray holds. And Will Rogers just isn't throwing. On the season, he's got 46 passing attempts, 2 games. 33 of 46 for 389 and 5 touchdowns. That would have been a game under Mike Leach. That's so far through 2 games. I think he was 15 of 18 or 14 of 17 this past weekend against Arizona in a game where Mississippi State forced 5 turnovers, got 5 takeaways, and needed overtime to beat Arizona. That is, I think, going to be fascinating to watch. LSU has a glaring weakness. Mississippi State doesn't seem like they're a team willing or wanting to exploit that weakness. We'll see if they try to do so on Saturday. All right, say some good mornings here. Brady Smith, Nick Newbill, Foreman Kid 8, good morning. The man is live. What's up? JN3, good morning. Weston Weaver. Matt Plavidal. Short day trip to Beaumont tomorrow, off Friday. Rest needed. All right, Matt. Enjoy your day off, man. Bart St. Germain, Jason H., Bradley, and Graffia, good morning. Jesse Brown, do you think Rogers' career is over at age 39? So I heard Pat McAfee answer that question. And keep in mind, Pat McAfee has Aaron Rodgers on his show like every week, right? So they're tight, they're boys, whatever. McAfee said, and he's like, I don't know anything, I haven't talked to him, but he said, just based on knowing Aaron, he ain't going to want to go out like that. So, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he comes back. Dalton Barnett bought Arkansas tickets yesterday. Hope the boys can make it interesting. Oh, I think Arkansas, look, I don't know if y'all paid attention to Arkansas this past weekend, but they scuffled mightily with their win. That's not a very good Arkansas team. Find out more about them this weekend when they host BYU. Trivia Carter, good morning. Bubba Tatum, good morning. Last day working in the Cape before heading back to Tampa. All right, Bubba. Zach Swan, good morning. Hey, Dad, good morning from Israel. So my dad is on a trip to the Holy Land. So I'm curious, Dad, what time is it in Israel? That's pretty cool that he got to go to that. On that trip, I should say. Not to that. 3:42 p.m. in Israel. Okay. So you're 8 hours ahead. All right. Very cool, Dad. Hope y'all are enjoying the trip. So my dad got to go to the Holy Land in the 70s when he was in the Navy. And we had for a long time. I don't know if they still do, but like growing up, remember in our house, we had these, like he had gotten a replica of like, I guess he went to the Holy Land, went to Egypt, went to a lot of different places, and was like, got like a replica of the Sphinx and the pyramids and like some other stuff. I've seen pictures from then. But anyway, so very cool to be able to go there again. I'll make it one day. Cody Champion. I'll go first. Will Rogers is blowing the top off our secondary. It's going to be ugly. Offense barely keeps us in games for the remainder of the season. Okay, Cody. That boy. Stay hot. Brian Wynn, good morning. Brian Penton, good morning. From the greatest LSU player ever, Joey B. Athens, Ohio. Okay, Brian Penton rolling through Athens, Ohio today. Okay. Tiger Diver, Tug, good morning. Wendell Norman, Brad David. What time did you wake up when you used to do morning radio? That sounds so painful. 3:30. So, whenever, so I had 2 different stints in mornings, 3 different stints in mornings. I produced the Ed Bug Show, 2003. And Ed was on in the mornings, and then they moved Ed to the afternoons, which was great. Then when Ed was in the afternoons, I got hired to be a morning news anchor for Metro Networks, which was a subsidiary of Westwood One. It was basically like the news arm of Westwood One. And so I was like in the Louisiana bureau. So I would file radio news stories so wire affiliates throughout the country, the world, could pluck those stories and air them. And I used to have my first report filed at 5:30 a.m. So you had to be up early to be not just there, but like up, awake, researched, written your first report, voiced it, and filed it, right? And then whenever Talk 107.3 launched in 2011 or 2012, they had hired Matt Kennedy and Brian Haldane, but they couldn't get out of their non-competes from Clear Channel. So Bill Profita and I hosted mornings on Talk 107.3 for like 6 months. I was doing mornings on Talk, and then I was doing afternoons on ESPN. Morning radio sucks. It does. You have to be wired for that. Now, Hester and T-Bob get a little bit of a break because they start at 7. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very different than starting at 5:30 or 6. Because when that alarm clock goes off at like 3:30, just changes your whole life. Don Tecco, how do you think LSU not having a true D-line coach is affecting the team this year? So I don't think that's the problem. I think John Jancic is an awesome coach. Like he is, I mean, had skins on the wall for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. I mean, there's no, like, I don't worry about that. The question, Don, if there is one, is the fact that since spring, keep in mind, you started spring with Jamar Cain. Jamar Cain just abruptly left when the Broncos hired him, middle of spring. So Gerald Chapman stepped in as the interim defensive line coach for the rest of spring. Then you hire Jimmy Lindsey, who was with the team like all the way through the offseason. And then a few days before fall camp begins, he obviously has a medical episode. And then you shuffle the deck a little bit, and John Jancic goes to the coach defensive line. So since the middle of spring, that's 4 defensive line coaches. I would say, and I don't know if this is exactly what you meant, Don, but it might be. I think having that many different voices is a challenge for that group, for sure. But I don't worry about John Jancic. I think he's not just a true defensive line. I mean, he's a great coach. That's a guy who's been a Power 5 defensive coordinator at huge places and is coaching your D-line. Hang on one second. All right, y'all. Drew decided he wanted to wake up early this morning. So, walked in there, it was like 7:10, and he's sitting up. He's like, get out, get out, get out. I'm like, you don't want to go dodo? Dodo's go to sleep. His papa says, dodo, baby. I was like, you don't want to dodo? He said, no, get out, get out. Okay. So Drew got up. All right. Shout out to some people over here on Facebook. See what y'all got. My bad. I'll toggle back and forth. Let's see. Brian Broom, what's going on? Charlie Cavell, Debbie Jenkins, Quentin Breakbill, Vernell Thomas, Matt Thoughts, Trevor Penning protecting David Carr's blindside. You know, Vernell, I'll look. It was atrocious on Sunday. Like, there's no way around that. I do remember when Teron Armstead got his first start. I'm almost positive it was a game in Carolina, actually. Check myself on that, but I'm almost positive it was a game late in the season against Carolina. And could be wrong on that. And it wasn't great. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of, like, you've got to get your feet wet. I mean, look at, this is not apples to apples, but like Will Campbell last year. Physically was ready, but the opening game against Jared Verse did not go well. And then as the season went along, kept getting better and better and better. So I'm curious if Trevor Penning actually has what it takes to be an elite left tackle in the NFL. So we're going to find out. But Sunday was very bad. Ryan Hollis, good morning. SEC West is a mess. What percent do you give us to win the West? I don't know about percentages, Ryan, but I still like LSU. If as much as disappointing as the loss to Florida State was, continue to say it. Part of the reason I liked LSU this year was fewest questions, most manageable schedule. Yes, we all knew the secondary was a question mark. Didn't think it would be as bad as it is. I'll grant you that. But look at the rest of the West. Like, who scares you? A&M just got run over by Miami, and it wasn't as close as the final score shows because they got gifted 2 short drive touchdowns. We saw Bama lose at home to Texas. They're not what they were at the line of scrimmage. They do not have a quarterback. Tulane was better on the line of scrimmage for a half than Ole Miss. Tulane. Mississippi State got 5 takeaways, still needed overtime to beat Arizona. Where's the, like, show me. Now granted, other teams will look at LSU and say the same thing. We'll look at LSU, got blown up by Florida State. Like, okay. I also think Florida State might be the best team in the country this year. Might be. And LSU is better than them for a half. Who can most realistically improve the most between now and the end of the season? And what games do you fear? Steven Sloan, Bubba Smith, Josh DeVilliers. Will Perkins stay a jack linebacker, or will the lesson continue? Dustin, I think, or I'm sorry, that was Josh. Josh, I think they're going to continue to use him in a more versatile role. I don't even know that he's a true jack linebacker, right? In the way that B.J. Ojulari was last year. You know, I think Braden Swinson's played well. So is there a scenario where you continue to use Perkins like you did last year along with B.J. Ojulari? So you get him on the field this year with Braden Swinson? Maybe. But I think we're going to see him just running 60 defensive snaps stacked in the middle of the defense? No. Dustin Jenkins, good morning, Matt. Love 11 a.m. games, not Bloody Marys and Go Tigers. I don't know, was that a not joke? Or are you saying you don't love Bloody? I think it was a not joke. Coit Nicholson, good morning. Patrick Berglass. So, Dustin, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Don't know your age, but nobody does not jokes anymore. It's actually probably been like 20 years since people did nachos. I try to tell it to my mom too. She still does nachos. I'm like, Mom, nobody does nachos anymore. Like, that's very 1995. Anyway, but you know what, Dustin? As the great Sheryl Crow once said, if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. I will do the next line because that's kind of weird. Makes you happy, why the hell are you so sad? That's not relevant for this conversation. Patrick Berglass, what's your projection for the Carolina game? Haven't given it yet, Patrick, but I do think the Saints are going to win. But I haven't given a final pick on it. I'll do that on Monday. JN3, Matt, any upset picks for the weekend? I mean, there's always upsets. Let's see. I haven't taken a deep look into the schedule. I usually don't do that until Thursday. I mean, I know the SEC schedule, but I haven't looked deeply into the rest of the college football schedule for this weekend. So, quick glance. Penn State at Illinois is interesting. Old Burt Bielema could make that thing a sloppy mess of a game. South Carolina at Georgia. Not a super awesome slate. Tennessee at Florida is this weekend. That'll be interesting. See if Florida has a pulse or if Tennessee rolls. Tennessee could get some real separation in this league from the rest of the league outside of Georgia if they go just blow out Florida, which they should, but we'll see. All right, smash that like button if you would. If you're new, please subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Where am I? Phil Stevens, good morning from Knowles Nation. All right, Phil, good morning. Thanks for checking in. Knowles are for real, man. For really real. Reed Rule, morning, Scone, coldest game you've ever attended. This is going to be random, but the one that immediately pops into my mind, and I've been to a lot of snow events. I went to opening day at Wrigley when it snowed. The year I was in South Bend, I went to Notre Dame games. I remember the Stanford game in particular. It snowed the whole game. The 1997 Independence Bowl, it snowed. So I've been to a lot of cold sporting events. But honestly, the coldest I can ever remember being at a sporting event was 1997 Notre Dame in Tiger Stadium. It was a dreary, overcast day. Autry Denson and Notre Dame just crushed LSU. I think it was 27-9, and it wasn't that close. They were in control from jump. They played them twice that year, right? They played them in Baton Rouge and played them in the bowl game. And it snowed at the bowl game, but that was the gold jerseys and the white helmets in the Rondell Mealy game where he ran for 222. But the game in Tiger Stadium that day in 1997, I remember being just the coldest I can ever remember being in a stadium. Let's see. Justin Saunier, Christopher Fry, Bailey C., good morning. I know some State fans, they get really upset when people don't take them seriously. Yeah, Bailey C., you're right. I mean, and I guess I could understand how it would be annoying when there's constant just head patting, right? It's like, oh, okay, Mississippi State. That's kind of like how the rest of the league kind of looks at them. And since Dan Mullen got there in 2008, Dan Mullen went to State the same year that Lane Kiffin went to Tennessee, for context. And you went from this great run of Dan Mullen to Mike Leach. You've had a good 15-year run of pretty consistent football. So I do get it, but I'm not a believer in this State team at all. Jesse Post, what's going on? Cajun Country, cautiously optimistic about this weekend. Hope they can find a way to free up Harold Perkins. LSU's a 10-point favorite. Mississippi State got 5 takeaways against Arizona and needed overtime to win that game. They are not a good team, and Zach Arnett is not a good coach. if you lose this game on Saturday, sound the alarms. Because if you lose this game, an 8-4 regular season I think is likely, and a 7-5 regular season is possible. Because if you lose this game, you're not going to Alabama and winning. You're going to probably lose one of Ole Miss, Missouri, back-to-back road games. And then you could always get nipped by any of Arkansas, Florida, A&M. So I'm just saying, you lose this game, Katie, bar the door. Like, this is one you need to go get. Bailey, a defensive coach is promoted after a great offensive head coach's tenure. That sounds familiar. Under that scenario, I think you're suggesting... Oh, you're talking about the Saints. Never mind. Yes, you're talking about the Saints. Spurge, finally getting rain in the hill country. All right, Spurge. Good to see you there, man. Oh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Got to get rolling. Look at Justin Sonia. Worked in Israel for an oil company for 4 years. Very cool place. Awesome. I've heard Israel. I've never been, obviously, but I've heard that Israel is just absolutely stunning. Beautiful place, beautiful people, beautiful culture. I would love to go. Emmett Bean, hopping in from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Got it. Welcome, Emmett. Glad to have you there. Thanks, man. Greg T, curious if you think there's a chance Mississippi State has been playing possum these first 2 weeks. No. I'm not going to say, by the way, Greg, it's not to say that their game plan this week won't include more passing. It almost certainly will. But that is their offense. Kevin Barbay came in from Appalachian State. You can go look at what they were at App State. This is the offense he runs. They are intentionally moving away from the air raid. So it's not a thing where State is going into a game looking to throw 45, 50 times. Phil Stevens, LSU in an aerial dogfight this weekend. I don't think so, bro. Cajun Country, have you ever fired anybody on air or during commercial break? I was watching radio TV broadcasters outtakes. It's hysterical. So Cajun Country, just full disclosure, I don't have autonomy to fire people. As program director, I could certainly make that request to our management team, to our executive team, or that recommendation. But I don't have the autonomy to fire people. So all the on air for everyone, I was like, Brand, you're fired, or Muse, you're fired. We're all colleagues and we get along great, and it's just a bit. And no, but have we ever gone to break and has there ever been yelling and screaming in breaks? Absolutely. That's true for literally every live event ever. It is just a very intense, results-driven world when you are alive, and that is your, and you have a massive audience, and that is how you make a living. It's your livelihood. You don't get to say, I don't feel good today. I'm going to go home. I'm not feeling it. I'm going to cut out early today. You don't have that option. So the show must go on axiom is true. Oh, it's 8:01. Morgan Miller, what up, bro? Matt Plavitt, I'll look for Russ. He was on last week. Yes, Russ was on last week. Hour 3, Wednesdays. He's back on today. Ryan Slayton listening in Largo, Maryland. JN3, will John Emery get significant snaps against MSU? You'd have to define significant snaps. I'm going to say no. I'll say fewer than 10 touches in the game. Leon Williams, Ryan Slayton, we don't need more cowbell. Antron Hemingway, good morning. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Perkins for Heisman. Matt, Borat made not jokes funny forever. Borat did make not jokes funny, but part of the humor was the fact that he was doing it incorrectly. And we all understood the context. It was funny because he didn't, right? David Durr, does Baylor finally win a game this weekend? I don't even know who Baylor's playing. But I did have Baylor in the points last week. Thought it was a bounce back spot. And they played great, and they blew it late. Larry Connor, why do you think LSU can't get quality corners despite the transfer portal, whatever happened to DBU? So last year, they got some veteran savvy guys. And this year, I would tell you that they're betting on the come with with Denver Harris. And then the other one that we don't talk about because he's got a broken foot is J.K. Johnson. I mean, J.K. Johnson came from Ohio State and played a lot of ball. You know, the one that they wanted, the best corner in the cycle, was Fentrell Cypress, and he went to Florida State. And the most fascinating thing was having this conversation earlier this week with, let's say, someone who's deeply connected into the space. What we're talking about is like there's a different motivation for tradition-rich programs that are success-starved. And he intentionally named Florida State, Texas, Nebraska, Colorado. These places that have had tradition in the past, but have struggled, and essentially his point was their boosters are more eager for success. It's not to say that Florida State has more resources than LSU, but suffice to say, their boosters have more are more eager for success because it's been so long that they're willing to pony up. So, like, I mean, 3 dudes at LSU, I'm told, offered. While explaining there would be great NIL opportunities to come, were the 3 were Keon Coleman, Braden Fisk, Fentrell Cypress. They wanted all 3 of them. All 3 went to Florida State. And in all 3 cases, they got about a 3x on what they would have gotten at LSU. So I get it. And by the way, that's not a knock. That is not taking a shot. It's not being like, oh, well, you know, like everybody does NIL. It's not supposed to be used as a recruiting inducement. Everyone does it. Every player knows what they're getting in NIL when they go to a place. Everyone. So I'm not saying that's the North Star for every athlete, but everyone knows. Okay. And so, I mean, you would have loved to have Fentrell Cypress, but kind of got outbid. Had to Florida State. They had the resources together, went and got the guy. Guy is plural. How different was that game 2 Sundays ago if Fentrell Cypress, Braden Fisk, Keon Coleman are wearing purple and gold instead of garnet and gold? Let's see. Tiger Diver, I bet you wanted to fire Jimmy Chesthair when he cut off your mic. Jimmy Chesthair almost got fired for that. That is a cardinal sin. I know people laugh at that and think that's funny. It's not in any way funny. I mean, imagine if an attorney is in trial in court and he's got like a paralegal or she's got a paralegal with them, and the paralegal stands up in the middle of the proceedings and like blurts out objection or a question. Like, that ain't how this works. What if a surgeon is in surgery and a nurse grabs a scalpel and starts cutting? It's like, well, that might be a little more unethical. But point is, it's just whatever in your profession is the most outlandish thing you can think that's completely and totally unacceptable. That's what that was. And he almost got fired because of that. Zachary Snyder. Oh my God, it is 8:07. I gotta go. What happened to hanging with Hester? Well, Hester's on with T-Bob now in the morning. Okay, I gotta go. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all have an awesome day. Peace.